Hey everyone, Robert Ferringo of Doc Sports here with just this large, sexual Mexican, Raphael Esparza. Raphael, are you as excited as I am for some college football action this weekend?
Oh no, I'm thrilled about the NFL. I love the NFL. I thought the greatest game was played on Thursday night between Denver and Indiana. That was the greatest game that I ever played on a pigskin. First of all, people that's out there, I want to rant a little before we go. I'm tired of people like, oh, football's the greatest NFL. Why are they breaking in Aaron Judge if you're going to get a home run? Baseball sucks. Baseball this. We got suckered to watch that horrible Thursday night football game. It was one of the world's worst football games I've ever seen played. And then what we get suckered next Thursday night? Washington and the Bears. Give me 2 Monday night games. Get rid of Thursday night. I don't care. Amazon got $1 billion to show Thursday night football. It is horrible. I'd rather watch AAA baseball than watch what I watched last night or when I'm forced to watch Washington, Chicago. Give me a break. Shut up, people, about baseball sucks, NBA, NHL, football's creme de creme. Shut up, because we had to watch that horrible game all day yesterday. I can't even get that time back.
He went from being the sexy Mexican to like an angry old man yelling at the cloud. I thought you lived in New Orleans. You live in New Orleans, right? You do not live in communist China. You don't live in Uzbekistan. You're not in Eastern Ukraine, right? So you are free to watch. This is America. You have freedom of choice. You don't have to watch that game if you don't want to. And that brings me to a good point. Listen, folks, you don't have to love sports to enjoy making money on them. Okay, maybe you don't like the NFL, maybe you don't like college football, maybe you don't like sports like WNBA or soccer. You don't have to watch them. Just bet them, win, and take your money. Money is good. We like money, right? And speaking of money, you can get $60 free by clicking the link above or below. Use them for any handicapper in any sport at our site. That's docsports.com, the #1 sports information site in the industry. 51 years running. So, all right, good rant against the NFL. You can rant more about how much you hate the NFL in our NFL video, Raphael. But today we're going to talk a little bit of college football, and we're going to start with Florida State, NC State. Big game in the ACC, and it's actually kind of deja vu for Florida State. Last week, they were at home against Wake Forest, and they were catching Wake Forest in the perfect letdown spot. Wake Forest had played Clemson the week before, blew a lead, lost in overtime. So you're like, oh man, now they got to go on the road. This is perfect for Florida State. Not quite. Wake Forest beat them by double digits. Well, now Florida State is in a similar situation, only on the road. They're getting NC State in that emotional letdown situation after NC State lost to Clemson. Do you think that the results are going to be any different for Florida State this week, Raphael?
No, I was really impressed at how well Wake Forest came out, especially in the third, coming after halftime. I think they were up by 2 touchdowns after halftime. I was really impressed that they scored quickly in the third period and put the pressure at Florida State at home. I really enjoyed that game. I just think NC State, they let one slip away at Clemson. I know it was a double-digit loss, but they played their hearts out. They could have had some moments turned their way, maybe had a totally different game. They're at home in this one. And I just go back to how they played against Texas Tech at home. I know it was a couple of weeks ago. I know they played UConn at home before they had the big game against Clemson. If they can play that type of game they played against the Red Raiders, then I think they get this W and maybe erase that Clemson loss and maybe think about maybe getting Clemson further down the road.
Who do you think who do you think Florida State is this year? Okay, they won at LSU, they won at Louisville. They lost at home to Wake. What is your level of expectation for Florida State moving forward through the rest of the season?
I think we're going to see them how they won that road game against Louisville, where Louisville fought back, made it a lot closer game. I think that we're just going to see a lot of close games with Florida State, and sometimes you win them and sometimes you lose them. Easily could have lost that LSU game. They blew the lead. LSU should have at least tied that game. So we're just going to see. I would not be shocked that the rest of the year they're going to lose or win by 5 points or less, 5 points or more, 5 points or less. That's what kind of team I think Florida State's going to be.
I actually have a play on NC State this weekend. The more I think about this game, though, the more I think that this really probably should have been a big play. Because when I look at this game, it's one of those, either they will or they won't. Okay, either NC State is going to rebound from last week. They're going to feed off the home crowd. They're the better, more experienced team. They really should blow Florida State out here. This really should be a 17-point game. I think NC State's either going to do that or they're going to lose. Either, their head is still going to be in that Clemson game. And if it is, Florida State's going to come out, make some plays, get a lead, put some game pressure on NC State, and win the game. So I really think it's kind of an all or nothing situation. We mentioned that Florida State LSU game. LSU has a big game at noon tomorrow. They're taking on top 10 Tennessee. The public is all over the Volunteers, as they have been all season. Raphael, are you surprised that LSU is a home underdog in this game, or do you feel like that number is right?
I think that number is right. I mean, they had some really good wins. They beat Mississippi State at home, 31-16. Embarrassed New Mexico, embarrassed Southern. So they've had success already at home this year, which they didn't have last year. They didn't have that much success at home. So getting that W's at home brings in success. If this is a high-scoring game, I just don't think that offense of LSU can go toe-to-toe with Tennessee. If it's a high-scoring game, I think Tennessee could blow them out because that defense is going to be gassed out. We all know how many plays Tennessee runs in the game. I think they already ran 10 plays right now, and the game hasn't even started. So if it's a high-scoring game and Tennessee's offense is on the field, I just see LSU's defense gassing out in the second half. If you're LSU, you need to have kind of a type of an Auburn game. I don't think it's going to be 21-17 type of game, but that type of game where LSU's offense is running the ball and keeping that Tennessee offense on the sideline. I think Tennessee wins this game, but if it's a low-scoring defensive game, would not shock me if LSU pulls the upset out.
Do you think Tennessee's overrated? Do you think they're a little overhyped, a little overvalued? Or again, do you think that they legitimately are a top 10 team? They are a threat in the SEC East, and that they are, one of the better teams in the country?
That win against Pittsburgh, that's a hard place to go get to steal a road win going to Pitt.
Unless you're Georgia Tech.
Well, that's a totally different story, but I like that win.
I feel like that was their big road win, right? And now that win doesn't look as good. Pittsburgh's not as good as people think they are. And the fact that they lost as a 21-point favorite to Georgia Tech, that takes a little bit of luster out of Tennessee's big win there. Other than that, their only big win was against Florida, and we still don't really know who Florida is this year. So,
but again, Florida's defense has a lot of speed, and that's what they were counting on all season long was that Florida defense, and they put up 38 points against the Gator defense. So like I said, if they score 35 plus against LSU, I think they win by a touchdown or more.
All right, here's what I know is that every week so far this season, like SEC teams are just rotating in and out through that like number 8, number 9 in the country spot. Like it was Kentucky, it was Mississippi State, it was Texas A&M, now it's Tennessee. Like the SEC does not have, 12 of the top 10 teams in the country. If you get what I'm saying, like I feel like it's just Tennessee's turn. I don't feel like they're the 8th best team in the country. Just like I don't feel like Ole Miss is the 9th best team in the country. I think that's ridiculous. So I'm looking at the SEC.
They get the SEC flavor. They get the special ratings.
Right. It's ridiculous. Like everyone in the SEC has had a turn being ranked either number 8 or number 9, right? I'm looking at LSU in this game, and I think that the sharp money is behind me because while the public is on Tennessee, this number is actually coming down. It was at 3.
Yes.
I was seeing some 2.5s this morning. So I don't know. This might be a spot for a little LSU money line. Now, all right, from money line to money maker, how about them Kansas Jayhawks, baby? Once again, they are in one of the marquee games of the weekend. TCU and Kansas, really a big game in the Big 12, which absolutely no one saw coming. TCU manhandled, completely mauled Oklahoma last week, 55-24. Same thing. Is TCU now in the letdown situation going out to Kansas? And at what point are opponents going to start taking the Jayhawks seriously?
Yeah, I can't wait. This game has been circled for the greatest NFL college football / CFL / USFL game I'm watching on Saturday. I can't wait. Someone has to go straight up and against the spread. TCU 4-0 against the spread this year. Kansas 5-0 against the spread this year. So I'm all on the Jayhawks. I mean, I've made fun of them year after year in college football. I've treated them like I've treated UNLV football. Just get rid of the program and concentrate on basketball and all that. But they're a fun team to watch. I can't wait to watch. My heart is saying go Jayhawks. My money and wallet say, ooh, bet TCU. They put up 55 points against Oklahoma. That's something that's rarely. I'm leaning towards taking Kansas because I'm much sold that Iowa State, they should have lost that game against the Cyclones. It was an Amazon Prime college football game of the year, 14-11. So I was just discussing that one. I think TCU wins this one if it's a high scoring game, but my heart's saying KU, baby.
KU getting 7 points at home, Raphael. They're 8-0 against the spread going back to last year. They've covered all 5 games this year. They've won outright as an underdog last couple of weeks. They look good doing it. Also, like you said, if you haven't seen Jalen Daniels yet, he's worth the price of admission right there. The quarterback for Kansas is outstanding. Again, you're catching TCU in a letdown spot, and you're getting a touchdown with a Kansas team that just has a lot of momentum. The crowd's going to be going nuts. Is the value here on the Jayhawks, or is this the week that the bubble bursts?
I wish this was an afternoon or an evening game because I wanted to see what the Saturday bettors would have done to this number. Isn't game day there? It's a noon kickoff.
It's a noon kickoff, yep, which is 11, I believe 11 o'clock local time.
Because you figure if it was a 3:30 or a 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock game, the morning bettors might do something different because maybe they lost in the morning. I wish it was because I wanted to see if it moves off 7 or maybe get 7 even money or 7 or something like that. There is value on 7. I think it's going to be a tight game. The only thing that scares me, if TCU puts up points quickly like they did against Oklahoma, this game could be ugly early. So we need Kansas defense to do like they did last week against Iowa State.
All right, another game that odds makers, bettors, and fans are, I believe, anticipating to be another close game is out in the Pac-12. Utah, UCLA. Really big game between these two teams. Utah has been on a war tour, basically, since that opening week loss to Florida. They are 4-0 straight up and against the spread since then, winning by a cumulative total of 184-43. They are taking absolutely no prisoners. Now, UCLA, they've been on a run dating back to last year. They've won 8 straight games. They're 6-2 against the spread, coming off a real nice win over Washington at home last week. UCLA getting the points at home. Are you looking for an upset here, or do you think Utah is just going to continue to roll over people?
I like the number when it first opened, 3. Now it's 3.5. This one will probably go to 4 before kickoff. A lot of money continues to come in Utah. A lot of sharp money coming in on Utah because you said it. Ever since that loss to Florida, their defense has just been lights out. I mean, they haven't given up 16-plus points, and they only gave it up last week to Oregon State. So their defense is on fire. I like Utah, not because I need them to have a statement win so I can still look smart for having Utah being in a Final Four playoff spot. But, yeah, they're just on a rampage. I know UCLA had a big win, but they really haven't played. They played Colorado. They played South Alabama. They haven't really played. Didn't they play Alcorn State? I think their opening game. So
Green, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Now, if they win this game against Utah, then I'm like, okay, this UCLA team's for real. This is something you need to look at. But I need to watch this game. I still think Utah on paper, which we don't bet on paper. We use paper to bet, but we don't look at games to bet on paper. Utah's the better team. Defense wins this one. Give me the Utes.
All right. Speaking of a game where there's no doubt who the better team is, Texas A&M going to Alabama. A lot of people have had this game circled for a long time, but Texas A&M has been taking on water. They're just not very good. I bet against them with my college football game of the year last week with Mississippi State, and Mississippi State hammered A&M. The Aggies have quarterback issues. They have injury issues. This one's not looking good. They're getting 24 points in this game. They were big underdogs last year and were able to pull the outright upset. They are not going to upset Alabama again this week, okay? But is there value with the 24 points with A&M heading to Bama?
I know people are probably asking, why are we talking about this game? We should be talking about Iowa, Illinois in a Big Ten, which I think is a great matchup. Let's talk about JMU, who keeps on
shoot me in the face rather than talk about Iowa football. But go on.
Well, it's a nice conference matchup and all that. Maybe talk about JMU, who they're demolishing people in their first year in division. I want to talk about this game because both quarterbacks are probably going to be out. Alabama's starting quarterback and Texas A&M. But I still think Bama puts up 50-plus points against. You don't tell me. I know they said, our issues from the summer, squash, Saban, and all that. But you don't think the players just want to embarrass the NIL players on the other side in their home stadium? This game could get ugly, ugly, ugly. quickly. I just can't. This game, I want to watch it. I just want to see the bloodbath. This is one of those games like if someone tells you, "Ooh, there's going to be a train wreck at this station at 2:00," and you still go over there just to see it. This is something I want to see because this one could be ugly, ugly. Bama could score 60 plus and just keep on going. They might just keep on putting the pedal to the metal. This one's going to be ugly, and I can't wait to watch it.
Hasn't been announced yet, and you and I were talking a couple days ago. I don't think Bryce Young is going to play.
No.
I feel like the number is kind of frozen there. He's not going to play. But as I said, when it comes to, and I don't want to go off on a whole tangent here, but when it comes to college football, I'm very much a macro handicapper. I don't get into individual matchups in college football at all. For me, it's about the team. It's about the cumulative psychological effects, talent, skill level, situational stuff, right? And the reason is because Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy candidate, Heisman Trophy winner, future NFL quarterback, he goes out, right? I bet that the kid that they bring in, Jalen Milroe, I believe his name is, I bet he's just as good as Bryce Young. Something tells that, you see this all the time in college football. One star goes out, and then the kid that comes in and replaces him is just as good. This is why you can't get caught up in, these individual matchups and individual players. Now, Raphael, we both agree that Alabama is probably going to blow out Texas A&M. However, A&M beat them last year. They lost by 28, they lost by 19, and they lost by 22. Okay? Numbers right around where this spread is. Okay? Are you laying the points with Alabama? Do you think that it's a 30-plus point blowout? Or is there a little bit of value here because A&M has gotten blown out in the past against Alabama, but still ended up right around this number?
No, I think it's either Alabama or pass for me because, like I said, we all read about what happened over the summer. The winner of this series, I think the last 5 meetings have scored 40-plus points. A&M scored 41 last year. 2 years ago, Alabama put up a half a century, 52 points on that one. So I think a high-scoring game, and like I said, would not shock me if it's like 64 to like 20-something and all that. It's just going to be an ugly, ugly game. I feel bad for a scoreboard operator.
All right, last game that we're going to discuss is BYU against Notre Dame. This game being played out in your old stomping grounds, out in Las Vegas. Notre Dame coming off a bye. They've really kind of righted the ship after that loss to Ohio State, which the fact that they played Ohio State so well is looking better and better because Ohio State is just wrecking everyone else. Rebounded from that loss to Marshall to get back-to-back wins. BYU, tough team to pin down. They beat Baylor at home. They got blown out by 3 touchdowns at Oregon. Who are these teams, Raphael? And is this a situation that you're looking to get your money down in?
I'm hoping Allegiant Stadium in Vegas has a lot of bicycle racks because BYU's coming in town. They might need more bicycle racks, less cars. But this game is going to be very interesting. I mean, are we going to see the Notre Dame who played well against North Carolina? I know it was a shootout. It was a 77-point score in that game. I'm just not sold. I mean, BYU could have lost to Wyoming. Wyoming was playing them tough, and that was at BYU. It wasn't like it was on a road or a neutral place. Speed killed BYU against Oregon. There is some speed on this, especially in the secondary in Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame squeezes this one out, but let's face it, it's going to be a BYU crowd. I don't care how many people there's Notre Dame fans around the world. BYU travels. Me and you've had many conversations. They travel for football. They travel for college basketball. So it's going to be a BYU crowd. If it's a high-scoring game, then I think Notre Dame nips it out. If it's a tight one, then I think maybe a BYU can cover and win this one. I think the Fighting Irish beat Notre Dame. Or beat BYU.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, BYU, they didn't play well last week either. That was a 12-point win against Utah State. That's a bad Utah State team. I still just don't know who either one of these teams is, really. So for me, this is a no play. But I agree with you. It's going to be an interesting game, and it's going to be a momentum game. If Notre Dame wins, it's 3 in a row. Now all of a sudden they got the wind at their back. Same thing with BYU. This is a marquee win for them. If they get this win, then they're barreling towards another potential double-digit win season and maybe something special. So while I'm not looking to bet on either one of these teams in this game, I will be looking at the winner potentially next week. So, all right, Raphael, can't let you go without giving the people a little bit of that free stuff. You got a free play for me?
Yeah, it's the late game. I was gonna put this game as one of my pay plays, but our boy Max always yells at me when I pick big late games because he has to stay late to grade it on the sheets. But give me the under in the Hawaii San Diego State game. The total's 48. There is 148.5 over at DraftKings. But I've always told people bet the under on San Diego State in football and in college basketball. And Hawaii's offense is horrendous. And San Diego State's not going to put up big points. I just thought this total would have been like around 45. So at 48, I think there's value. Would not be shocked if San Diego State rolls Hawaii, maybe like a 23-7 type of game or something like that. But yeah, give me the under 48 Hawaii at San Diego State.
All right, a little bit of a cheat here. My free play is a game that I mentioned earlier that I already have a rated play in, and that's NC State. The more I think about this game, the more I like the Wolfpack. Maybe I just have an irrational belief in their experience, their talent, and their quarterback, Devin Leary. But like I said, I think that this is a game where they could be primed to reassert themselves as one of the contenders in the ACC. Yes, they lost to Clemson, but I think Clemson's beatable. I think they're a very flawed team, and they may end up having their hands full up in Boston College for that night game. So I think NC State wins this game by double digits. Like I said, they're either going to win this game big or they're going to lose outright. That's but that's gambling. I still think that the number is a little short. I felt like a number closer to 7, maybe a 6.5 or a 7 would have been more appropriate for this matchup, especially with Florida State, with all the advantages that they had last week. They couldn't beat Wake Forest. I think NC State's better than Wake Forest. So you take Florida State out of their home field advantage into NC State. I think it's going to be trouble for the Seminoles. So give me NC State. All right. He's Raphael Esparza. I am Robert Ferringo. This is your Friday college football betting bonanza. We appreciate you guys taking the time to stop by. Head over to docsports.com and take advantage of free $60 in your account to be used towards any handicapper's picks this weekend. Carpe diem, and good luck.